Hey guys, welcome back. It's Neon. We're going to talk about Netflix and the trouble Netflix is having this quarter. They lost like $17 billion in value the other day. We did a video on that. Geeky and I talked about it. And yeah, the bad press just keeps getting worse. Everybody's talking about Netflix stumbling, Netflix falling, and why this is not a good sign or a good omen for the other streaming services that are set to debut this fall and next year. Of course, Disney Plus and HBO Max, which is Warner Media's streaming service. So this might signal that there's some fatigue. There's some fatigue going on with all of these streaming services, and people have just had enough. I don't know. We're going to look into it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It helps us out a lot. You guys have been awesome. June and July have been very, very good for us, and we thank all of you for that. All right, so let's go. This one coming from Screen Rant. The real reason Netflix is suddenly losing subscribers. Netflix lost subscribers during its second quarter of 2019, and it's down to a few reasons, including pricing hikes and the quality of the content. Netflix remains a dominant force in the world of streaming services, but this loss of subscribers, 130,000 to be precise, for the first time in 8 years, is a notable loss. Yeah, this is bad. This is bad. As the streaming service market prepares for a boom with competitors like Apple TV Plus, HBO Max, and Disney Plus about to launch, Netflix must figure out a way to hold on to its subscriber base if it wants to remain the top dog. Factors like pricing, the amount of content offered, and the quality of said content will need to be zoned in on to avoid future mass subscriber departures like the one that happened during Netflix's second quarter. Yeah, so there's a lot here. And again, you know, Netflix lost $17 billion during valuation for this quarter. $17 billion, poof, gone in a day. And, you know, we'll give you a link to our previous video on that. And a lot of it is, yeah, there's a lot of other services coming out. Netflix has raised its prices. It's like, what, 15 bucks now? I think for Netflix, it started out like $7.99, and now we're up to like $15. Disney Plus is coming out this fall. It's going to have an introductory price of $6.99. HBO Max is launching next year, the Warner Media service, and it's going to be like 17 bucks. That's the word on the street. And the content, aside from Netflix's original content, like all these other service providers are pulling their content off of Netflix. Disney's pulling their content off. Warner is pulling their content off, and they're going to go start their own thing. So Netflix is basically left to its own devices to create its own content, and some of it's very, very good, and some of it's not so good. And in fact, it's kind of become a running joke that Netflix will greenlight anything. And, you know, it's definitely going to hurt them. You know, Geeky and I were talking like, wow, She-Ra's just not enough to bring them in. Okay, so here Screen Rant talks about the price hike. They said they hiked the prices up in January, which is seen as a contributing factor to the loss of subscribers. The price of Netflix Standard jumped from $10.99 to $12.99. The basic one-screen plan rose from $1, going from $7.99 to $8.99. The four-screen plan went from $13.99 to $15.99. So Netflix, look, if you want the four-screen service plan, if you have a family and they're all watching different shows on Netflix at once, you're basically looking at the cost of a cable channel at this point. And if everybody's going to stream television from here on out, and to get all the content that you want, you're going to have to buy like 3 or 4 of these packages every month. You know, you're basically paying your cable bill again. The reason people were cutting the cord is that they were like, okay, well, I can get away with, you know, $10 or $15 a month versus, you know, $50, $60 a month at minimum. And now we're going to be creeping up again. So it's no longer going to be cost effective to stream your television. It's going to be pretty much one-to-one with cable. In fact, there are articles out there talking about how a lot of people are just going back to cable because streaming, it's got way too many choices. It's not cost effective like it used to be. People don't want to subscribe to 5 or 6 or 10 different streaming channels, so they're just going back to basic cable. So yeah, it says the amount of each price hike doesn't seem significant, but it does add up. Netflix is still not as pricey as some other streaming services. Sling is $25 for a basic plan. Well, yeah, we have the Hulu TV, and it's like $40 or $45 a month. But because it's a leader in the field, it can't afford a misstep like affordability. While it's unclear what amount of the 130,000 subscribers left specifically over the pricing hikes in the second quarter, the timing of the hike and the mass exodus lines up to imply the former led to the latter. It's also possible that in the context of the other reasons, price was a deciding factor. And they're talking about how Netflix needs better shows all the time. Stranger Things has been a hit for them, but some of their other shows have been duds. So, you know, going forward, the number of original shows could be whittled down to a more selective amount, so the focus can be given to honing the quality of the shows being produced. So, you know, I don't know. To put it plainly, Netflix might stand a chance of increased subscriber retention if it stops allowing periods of quality content to be released only to be followed by a dud after dud after dud. Yet related, why Netflix cancels so many shows after 3 seasons? Yeah, they canceled One Day at a Time, which was apparently popular. Now, here's the thing about Netflix, though, too, is since they don't have like a Nielsen's ratings, you have to just take their word for it. Like, this show's popular because we said so. This might be why She-Ra is trying so hard to, you know, get renewed, because Netflix does have a tendency to cancel shows after 3 seasons, and people, I think, get kind of burnt out because you don't have like a long-standing hit. You don't have a hit that's been on for like 10 or 12 years on Netflix. They crank out like 3 seasons and then they're done. Basically, it comes down to viewer retention. If there's a drop-off in a show on Netflix, they just create another show, and they get that initial boost for those 3 seasons, and then they move on to something else. So this does seem to explain why so many of these shows only get 3 seasons, and I think we're looking at She-Ra only getting 3 seasons, which is why they're pushing so hard to push for a 4th season, given that they brought the toys out, and they just seem to really be pushing it. On Market Watch, we're talking about how the Netflix CEO, Reed Hastings, rocker of the mom jeans, according to Geeky, may have missed the real reason U.S. subscribers numbers plunged. So they said consumers turn to a trusted source when they don't know what to watch on their streaming service. And this is the article I was talking about, where they said that part of the reason they think Netflix is losing subscribers is because there's so much on, and it's so overwhelming that they're just going back to broadcast TV, back to cable, and they just kind of flip through the channels and watch whatever's on. I would actually agree with that when the quality of the shows are very hit or miss. You know, sometimes it's easier just to you know, park it on the channel and just watch whatever's on. But again, the subscriber loss is huge. I mean, you know, they lost 130,000 subscribers in Q2, the first major hit since the platform's birth. So Netflix has been on, you know, an upswing for years. You know, they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and they took a huge dive. And this is happening right before other companies are going to launch their streaming services. And if I were Disney, I would be freaking out right now, because they are literally betting the farm on Disney Plus. And if people just aren't into it, if they're tired of having umpteen subscriptions to all these streaming services, it's not gonna bode well for them. From Yahoo Finance via Motley Fool, okay, Netflix just failed a big test. 6 months ago, they described 2019 as a make-or-break year for streaming video pioneer Netflix. The company was in the midst of rolling out its most ambitious price hike in nearly a decade, barely more than a year after a previous price increase. Crunchyroll just did the same thing. They jacked their prices. I wonder how that's working for them. If it had been able to do so with no major impact on subscriber growth, Netflix would have demonstrated massive pricing power supported by its lofty valuation. Instead, subscriber growth slowed abruptly last quarter, as revealed in Netflix's recent earnings report. This is a big red flag for investors, as it suggests that Netflix older markets are starting to reach saturation and that substantial price increases could drive customers away. So, yeah, balancing price increases with subscriber growth will be even trickier in the future, with a slew of rivals, including Disney, set to launch a new streaming service soon at $6.99. As a result, Netflix stock doesn't look appealing, even after falling about 10% on Thursday. Yeah, we have Netflix stock. It definitely took a hit. So, why the slowdown seems significant? Globally, Netflix is still growing. Revenue rose 26% last quarter despite the negative impact of the strong dollar. Netflix is still relatively new to many markets, which is why its overall growth numbers look quite strong. And yeah, I think they're going to focus more on international audiences, entertainment for international audiences, because of that. But Netflix is now relying on international markets for the bulk of its subscriber growth. But in the US, there are clear signs that Netflix is reaching maturity. The result is that Netflix will need to rely on boosting prices to keep growing domestic revenue at a double-digit pace. That will become riskier as competition mounts. Back in April, Disney announced that Disney Plus was going to be $6.99 a month. I don't know where this leaves Warner Media, because they've got HBO Max. They're talking $15 to $17 a month. Many Netflix subscribers are fiercely loyal and would accept annual price increases. Furthermore, lots of people will subscribe to multiple streaming services, so it won't be a zero-sum battle between Netflix and Disney, but some customers may jump ship to cheaper entertainment alternatives if the prices keep rising. Netflix risks getting caught in a cable-like quagmire where annual prices increase leads to slow but steady attrition. And that's exactly, yeah, here's the forecast from Motley Fool. They do have some growth ahead of them in international markets, but they're basically like Netflix is going to flatline. It's going to flatline. And I think we're going to see them possibly start. I mean, they need to be ramping up original content because Disney's pulling everything off. Warner's pulling everything off. NBC's going to be pulling everything off. But, you know, if they're losing money, it's going to be hard to make a case for them to invest in more shows. And they're going to have to invest in better shows. You know, again, they've only had a handful of hits. With all the content, the original content that Netflix cranks out, they really need to have more quality content. So I don't know. This is gonna be interesting to watch because Netflix has basically become a television network at this point, and they're gonna have to certainly rethink things, especially when they're losing all the third-party content. So we will keep an eye on this since Netflix is huge now in the entertainment industry, and it definitely has had an impact on pop culture and what people watch and how they watch. So please subscribe to Clownfish TV for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.